drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Pilecki goes, dives onto the right side. Very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys. Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Pilecki. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. Well, now it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the left car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vita Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little. A 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
Nora Lompe must surely be looking over his shoulder. Loma has beat him to the line in the last 3 races, and while Juha has retained the points lead up until now, the gap is shrinking quickly. The preacher must respond soon in order to stop the momentum of his fellow Finn, or else Alexi appears poised to overwhelm Juha on pure pace. Will Montreal see a change in the pattern? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Stefan Schlacker. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Steph, this is looking rather familiar after last week. A street course in North America along a river notorious for gobbling up cars. Except this time we seem to have crossed the border. Tell us about Montreal.
Well, Joe, the Ile Notre Dame might just be off the Canadian-American border. However, Detroit and Montreal are a whopping 14-hour drive apart. The circuit laid out on the park roads of Montreal boasts a whopping 5 chicanes. However, still it is well known for the high speeds cars can reach around the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. The danger spot in the Lotus 79 isn't so much the Wall of Champions, but much more the exit out of turn 9, which is, by the way, the last chicane before the hairpin. It isn't so much about the exit, but much more about the left-hander's apex sausage curve because of the incredible high speed you take through this flowing chicane. In case we have just lost you on these 2.7 more miles of track description, fear no longer, as we shall get you up to speed now with our GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Montreal. Down into the Senna S, it seems like a good passing spot on paper, but the switch back into the hairpin can make it very tricky to overtake on either side. Coming out of the turn, be careful getting to the throttle since the slow corners won't give you the downforce you need to gun it. Down into turns 3 and 4, watch out for the wall on the exit. It sits right at the edge of the pavement where it can grab the greedy. Turn 5 needs to be on the throttle as much as you can, which will be tough if you're understeering. Hold tight to the right on the approach to 6 and throw out the anchors. Hugging the apex in the first half of the chicane will be important because once again, you're forced to tiptoe a little bit as you feed onto the power. A few extra feet of acceleration will be important down this gently curving backstretch. Once you spot the bridge, let it drift to the left, line up your braking and try to get it slowed up for turns 8 and 9. Stay off the big sausage curbs here to avoid upsetting the car because sliding around can easily chuck you into the wall on the right. Now we approach the only braking zone that isn't into a chicane. The casino hairpin offers a great chance to overtake, but it'll be very easy to get into the corner too deep. Expect some over-under moves to take place here. Wily drivers will make sure they can get on the gas earlier than their competitors to give them the most speed possible down the longest straight of the track. There's likely to be some draft battles here with the big hole this car punches in the air. The most difficult part will be spotting your brake marker and hitting it accurately. Coming into the last chicane, as always, avoid the wall of champions. Pulling a tank slapper into there is going to end your day in a hurry. But hopefully you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Montreal.
As Stefan was saying, that should give you a little bit better idea of exactly what the drivers are up against here today. But if you haven't been following this season for the Lotus 79 series, you might not be aware that we've changed the championship a little bit. It's the Sunday GP series. They only count these Sunday races for this special championship now. And as I mentioned, Nora Lampe ahead of Aloma, but he is gaining quickly. Matt Wood has been consistent, but hasn't won yet here on a Sunday. Steve Bycroft has been there or thereabouts, but needs to climb a little bit more forwards before he challenges those top three. And then Pablo Suarez hasn't been as much of a factor as well. What about the teams championship here, Steph? What's that looking like?
Well, it starts to get interesting on this end of the championship as well, Joe, as we have still Pamela Racing ahead with 148 points to their names ahead of Equipe Renault Elf, 11 points behind. That's Wood and Simpkins there. Then an equal distance apart is the Scuderia Ferrari with on Holland Herner 22 points behind. Equipe Double Chitan is in 4th place, 36 points behind. That's Kochi and Gattuso on behind the wheels there. And then we have another team obviously in 5th place. That's Marlboro McLaren International, 54 points behind. Roth and Heroda behind the wheels of that beautiful livery.
And, well, if you haven't watched yet, then you probably don't know the details of how these races go. We are in round 6 out of 12. They do it by laps in this series. There's 30 laps that they will be racing around today. And they also have an incident limit in this series. So even though it's not as big of a worry most times, you can get plenty of cut course penalties around here. So if you're getting 17 of them, you're probably in trouble anyways. Hopefully we won't have any drivers disappearing that way. Now, right now, qualifying is happening, and Alexia Loma has the provisional pole. I see Antti Lepisto on the outside of him. Now, is Juha with us today? And I don't see him out here. So this is going to have to be a drop week for Juha, and certainly will put him under the gun, especially with the speed, Stefan, that we've seen Aloma having lately.
And if I remember correctly, he said he's not sure if he's going to make this round. So yeah, not totally surprised that Juha isn't here with us today. But one name that is nearly always with us, Gernot Fritsche. He's just coming out of the hairpin. He is with us. Same with Adam Fraser, who's coming through the walls of champion. Let's see what he can do. 128, 194. That is a slow lap for him. That actually didn't count.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I didn't see a position next to him, so it looks like that one was not good enough. Let's see what Fritsche can do as he comes down toward the line himself. This is his first timed lap. He's got enough to get both of them in. It's a 25.9, and that is good enough for 3rd place, so that will certainly put him in the mix. Checking to see who else we're waiting on from the top of the field. Millward is usually pretty quick, and he unfortunately had an off somewhere on his first lap, so the number 10 is really going to have to try and nail this one. You can see he's coming out of the Pingle right now, heading towards that wall of champions. Long straight here. One of the more popular places to pass, despite the difficulty of going side by side through this chicane here, Stefan.
Well, yeah, it is. Every chicane is a little bit weird here. You can go side by side, but you can't really go side by side. Meaning there is enough room to go side by side, but either it's gonna cost you so much time, or there's just about enough room to go side by side, or the racing line is so weird through that chicane that you can't go side by side.
Millward managed to put it up in 3rd. Fraser, though, a disappointing 13th on his 2nd time around. I expected a little bit more out of him on that one. So we've come back to the DH driver of Gernot Fritsche, and he sits in 7th, having been overtaken by a number of drivers on their 2nd laps, and he doesn't improve. So 7th place for our highest ranked iRating driver. Yeah,
it is very interesting to see Gernot Fritsche actually struggling for pace, but he said that he isn't going to be here all that often, so yeah, I'm not surprised that he is a little bit slower this season.
And Alexia Loma came around to finish his 2nd lap, but it didn't count, so Alexi only one time, and that was good enough for the fastest lap of qualifying. I think the last driver we've got to finish a lap here is Octavio Arujo Piso, and his second lap is an improvement that bumps him up one position into 24th.
24th out of 29 drivers, and Adnan Dishtarevich once again traditionally doesn't put in a qualifying time.
That's going to set our field. Nobody else can get a time in, as anybody else who is out there has already taken their 2 laps. So why don't we go through our starting order here today? Alexi Aloma is on the pole, as we mentioned. Matt Wood, could this be his chance to maybe take a victory without Johan Orlampi here today? Alex Millward will try to beat him to that. He'll start in 3rd. A.T. Lepisto joins us once again. Sort of on and off driver. Could also be a spoiler out here. Nuno Moreira, known fast driver in the Lotus 79, will start in 5th. And Steve Bycroft, one of our top 5 in the points, will be starting in 6th position. Gernot Friesche, we mentioned, kind of on and off as well this season, but multiple-time champion, we should point out, starting 7th. Nicola Cocci, the Italian, will start P8, with row 5 having Sergio Fernandez to the inside, and the outside rounding out the top 10 is Peter Konecki.
P11 on the grid goes to Theo Schlieret, alongside the number 11 of Peter Mikus. Chris Baumann in 13th, Adam Fraser takes up 14th, and Eru Koroglu takes up top 15 spot, the last one of them on your grid. Simon van Duyn in 16th, Timo Vaskilampi 17th, Kendrick Taylor will line up 18th, John Stevens 19th, and rounding out the top 20 drivers on the grid will be Pablo Lumbreras Suarez.
Barry West managed 21st today with Robert Simpkins in 22nd. Then it's Keith Herner behind them in 23rd. Octavio, we saw him get 24th in his last chance of qualifying, with David Burgess bumped down by him in 25th position. Todd Herner will start P26. Sergio Morales 27. The last driver to get a lap in was David Cohen, and at 28th, you mentioned Adnan Dizdarevich, 29th car on the field, and I do see everybody out here, so we should say 29 drivers all line up here. As you can see, they're already gridding, and it is a relatively wide spread in lap times, with this being a single split. We're seeing Aloma with a 25.3, while Cohen ran a 34.5. Lap traffic will undoubtedly play a factor in today's race. Just waiting for the last of them to get out there on the short run, but sometimes chaotic run up into the Senna S, the first few corners in this chicane, which peels into a hairpin and then sends them off along the river. Waiting for Aloma, Lepisto, and Baumann. Then we will get the lights up and ready to go here for round 6. This will mark the halfway point as soon as the checkered flag flies for this season, the last season of 2019 here on iRacing. Looks like Baumann will be the last to bring it out to the grid to make sure everything is up and ready. He's definitely making sure that everybody has time to get out there. It looks like he's there, so engines start to rev. The lights come up. Green flag is out here at Montreal. And it is a good start for Aloma this time compared to his previous races. However, Matt Wood under the gun from Alex Millward, looking up the inside of the first quarter, but he has a bobble and has to back out of it. 2 wide and 3 wide behind them as everybody snakes their way through, but it's looking pretty good.
Most of the times this is much more the dangerous spot, turn 3, but even here everything seems to be very clean so far. There's a little bit of a 3 wide in the back for about 20th, but even that gets resolved before turn 4.
A very good start.
Oh, hey, that's right in the background.
Oh, and it's a big one. Oh, no.
Very
a number of cars involved. So we'll come back to that and try and dissect that in a bit, but that took out a lot of drivers in the back of the field. Aloma is still your leader, and by a big margin. It is a 1.5 seconds back to Matt Wood. After his bad start, it looks like he's got some work to do, although Aloma wide around the hairpin. A few drivers trying to pick up some spots on their way in. We might see some changes for position on the way out, though, as they pick up speed on the way down towards the Wall of Champions.
Yeah, and I would nearly say that Alexei Loma is right now clean of Matt Wood. The gap between the two is, let's have a look. That is, as my scoring has to update as they cross the line, should be about 1.5 seconds. Yeah, it is 1.7 seconds between Wood and Loma.
Wood, in fact, under immense pressure from Millward, who's looking very strong here at the start. Those two starting to stretch away from Lepisto behind. As Millward continues to give chase, we look off of Matt Wood's rear wing here. Coming down into turn 6. No opportunity for a pass this time. Look at how close he's getting, though, through the corners.
Whoa.
A good exit could do it.
I'm sorry, I was watching the battle for P6 between Nuno Moreira and Nicola Cochi, and Moreira completely lost his braking spot and nearly ran into the back. Somehow, sideways saved the car to not run into Cochi.
Oh, but Gernot Frischa, there you see a big mistake from him coming through 8 and 9. Nuno Moreira going to go back on the attack to see if he can get that position, but he's going to have to go the long way around of Lepingle. And to his inside, he also has Sergio Fernandez poking his nose in there, able to hold him off, but not able to get the position as they once again head down the rowing lake.
Fritsch started 7th, now is back in 7th, but he is under pressure from Moreira. Let's see if he tries to do it. No, he stays back. Probably a good and wise decision by Nuno there.
I don't think we've seen any yet, at least on screen, but those slowdown penalties that I mentioned, Steph, I wonder if those could make the difference in a lot of these battles here today. We've seen that in the past.
Well, it depends. On some places you have to try very hard to get that slowdown on the inside of a turn. On some places you don't even have to try that hard to get it. But one thing we're not allowed to forget is that this Lotus 79 is extremely wide, even for a Formula 1 car. So I think in these cars it's most definitely a little bit harder to get those slowdown penalties.
Yeah, especially since you don't want to be going over the curbs too much. I think we got the replay ready for that first incident on lap 1 heading through turn 5. And I didn't quite see how this started, actually.
Yeah, we're here ready through turn 3 and 4, and the accident is going to start between Pisco and Stevens. Pisco on the inside, just a little bit too much understeer and runs into Stevens, sends them both into the barrier, and just nowhere to go for everyone behind.
Yeah, just that slightest touch, and it was a chain reaction. I even made a note.
Who was that Ferrari on the inside sneaking past everyone?
Well, it wasn't Barry West.
That was Keith Herner. If you can get an onboard there from Keith Herner's perspective, that was quite some heads-up driving by Keith there.
Yeah, and that's brought him to 16th place now. Wow! Yeah, that was an incredible onboard. From 23rd on the grid to now being firmly in the mid-pack. Keith Herner having to hold a few people off, though, that had to slow up behind him now that they've re-caught up. But we look at second place once more. Matt Wood and Alex Millward still trying to settle that out. And they've continued to pull away from Lepisto. This is now 1.5 seconds between themselves and the 4th place driver, but firmly glued to one another. Wood having gained a little bit of time since we last looked on the gap to Aloma. It's about 1 second up to him.
Alone in this lap up to now, he gained nearly 6/10 on Alexei Loma, so either a slow lap by Aloma or he had some troubles there. Either way, the gap is closing down.
Looking to grab the slipstream. Millward seeing if he can gain on Matt Wood, but he's a little bit too far back for an attack into the Wall of Champions. So they just follow each other line astern. You can see the top of the field starting to spread apart other than those 2nd and 3rd place drivers. Everybody just settling in these early stages. Millward, though, with the fastest lap of the race now. Clearly, he is looking very confident in that car. And as we watch these two battle, we've got one of our victims from that first incident ready to join us. Barry West out early already. Barry, it looks like you were one of the first, unfortunately, to come upon that big wreck. What was it like from your perspective?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I thought, oh, we've got some good drivers around us and we'll have a clean one. I haven't had a clean one all week, and it's not fun driving 30 laps with damage. So I saw this guy come up the inside of me. It was 3 wide into the first right-hander of that nasty chicane. So I was lucky to get away with that, because if I'd have turned in on him, that would have been a wreck earlier. I don't know where he think he was going, and I saw him get level with John into the next right-hander, and I thought there's going to be trouble, so I'm just going to let him go. And of course I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it was stupid on lap 1. I mean, you know, we just got to settle in, and we had a talk in the forums in the week about this, and if you've out-qualified somebody, that's your pace, you know, you've got faster pace than them, unless they make a mistake. But to try and make up on the first lap like that, that was stupid in my eyes. Just ruined it for a lot of people.
Understandable, the emotions after that. We just watched Kendrick Taylor have his accident there on screen into Lapingle. Well, at least after today, there'll be a new track coming up tomorrow. Are you already kind of looking forward to practicing for next week?
Yeah, I'm really glad to get away from this track, to be honest, because I did a race. I did a clean race, but I was off the pace, and then I've got a bit more pace now, and race pace was much better than the qualifying pace, and I was really looking forward to this one, but unfortunately, no, it wasn't to be. So, yeah, where is the next track?
That is at Le Mans, so very fast track.
Oh, that'd be a good crash fest. Draft fest. Yeah. Well, no, perhaps I'm not looking forward to that one too much. Yeah.
Well, stock up on padding, I suppose, and we'll hope for the best next week, Barry, and commiserations.
Thanks, Joe. Have a good race, you guys.
All right, so that was Barry West. Understandably kind of upset about how things went today as we come back to that battle for second here on board with Millward, continuing to hound wood wherever he can, but not able to get by quite yet. Understand that it's also close for 6th place back there.
Yeah, Joe, that is a battle between two former title contenders of last season. That's Gernot Fritzsche and Nicola Kochi.
Don't forget Nuno Moreira in there
Kochi!
Whoa! And
that's the wall.
That's Kochi who hit the wall, in fact. Slid, and he got a little bit of damage, but he's able to get it going once again. Let's take a closer look at that.
Yeah, just too fast into the first apex, loses the rear on the switchback, and that's just very unfortunate. 2 very light contacts, but that rear wing is bent, and I think he also has a little bit of steering wheel damage.
Watch from Moreira's perspective. Sees it happening up ahead. Great heads up once again. Fast hands keeping him out of an accident. As that was happening, we had another accident. We don't need to replay Theo Schleret, who is now going once again. He is in 15th after hitting the wall in the same corner. Ooh, a little bobble under braking as well into Lapingle. So we are only 8 laps in, and we've had a lot of drivers have to leave this race early. Kendrick Taylor is gone. I see Robert Simpkins still getting repairs. John Stevens, Barry West, and Octavio Pisco is also out of it. Says, wow, that was a big slide from Millward that we just saw coming out of turn 3. That has proved to be a problem corner. And it's not terribly hot today. It's only 81 degrees on the track's surface. So conditions are relatively ideal.
It's much more about how this chicane plays out. It's a little bit off-cambered on both apexes. It's also downhill, so the car gets lighter over that crest, and it's just the curbs themselves are big and high. with a little bit of a weird ramp on top of them, but you still have to take both of them to be fast through it, and if you ever so slightly take the wrong line, you are gonna run into those bubbles that we have seen so far. And if you catch, or if you don't catch them fast enough, you're gonna end up like Nicola Kochi.
Right now, these top three that you see on screen haven't had the same sort of issue. See a challenge for 18th is, looks like Keith Herner going to manage to get P17 away from Pablo Suarez around Lapingle, but that's going to switch right back. And here comes Suarez once again with a great head of steam down the rowing lake towards the wall of champions. He is well ahead. Herner has no response there.
And meanwhile, that was going on. You've seen on top of your screen, it's Antti Lepistö with the fastest lap to this date as he now goes past Dave Cohen. Antti Lepistö at the line, 4.2 seconds behind Alexei Loma, only 2 seconds behind Alex Milberg.
Yeah, Cohen is a lap down, so he's just letting our leaders by, but Lepistö starting to come into his own. Oh, and we've had another problem with Schleret. And it's in the same spot. It looks like a carbon copy of what happened before. I know we didn't see it, but I went and checked myself. Just spins around the exit. And this is one of those difficulties I expected, Stefan, was the trying to get on the power out of these slow corners and these hugely powerful Lotus 79s.
Yeah, that was much driver error there from Theo. He just too much curb there on the left-hander, and right on the steep curb he takes the throttle up, or rather picks the throttle up and spins it around on the curb. Just a very common mistake if you have a little bit of a too tight entry into that left-hander.
Meanwhile, remember the damage we saw on Kochi? It seems to be compromising his race pace because he's already been caught by Peter Mikus. The Finn is sizing him up, and it's looking more like a matter of time for him to try and overtake. Through turns 3 and 4 once again. Not close enough to attack down into that one. A little bit far back as they break for 6 as well. But look at him close in on the binders. If he could just manage to get a good exit off of one of these corners, I think an opportunity should come for the Finn. I have to wonder how the handling is for Nicola Kochi as well, not just his speed. Certainly that bent wing on the long straights not helping him. Could this be the chance that Mikus is looking for? Way wide around Lapingle for Kochi. The Italian should very much be under threat as Mikus ducks into the slipstream, riding right in his tire tracks. Gaining speed, getting 160 miles an hour, 170 miles an hour as they come down to the braking for the final chicane. And he's not close enough once again. Apologies, Mikus is not finished. So used to all these Miku names coming from that area. Had failed to check exactly where he was from. Staying right behind, ooh, and getting within a car length now of Nicola Kochi down through the first couple corners. Starts to fall back once again. It's looking like coming off the turns, Peter just, Steffi doesn't seem to really be all that great.
Yeah, you're saying it. It seems like his setup is so much more about the entry of the turn, which he excels quite much compared to Nicola Kochi, obviously also with the bent rear wing of Kochi. But still, Mikus just can't get the power down slides ever so slightly more than he wants to, and thus just can't get the drive out of the turns. Now once again, Kochi much faster out of the turn as more battles seem to form ahead of them.
Yeah, in fact, I wonder if we could put the cameras a little bit behind them to Simon Van Doon. It's Peter Konieczny back there, and Peter has started a little bit higher than where he is now, running in 13th. Didn't have the greatest of starts, it seems. Trying to get one of them back from Simon as he chases him down towards that final chicane. And you can see Van Doon weaving across the track, trying to break that slipstream. Wow. You're getting right up underneath him as well. That is a lapped car of Todd Herner, just ducking off to the side. As these two continue, it looks like Steve Bycroft is gaining ground on Lepisto. So after Lepisto setting a fastest lap earlier, suddenly he finds himself under threat.
Yeah, after a short burst, Lepisto just can't keep up that momentum. Now also runs up to the traffic of Sergio Morales, who makes quite a lot of room for both of the drivers here in that.
Oh, Alexia Loma is out of the lead. And here comes both Millward and Wood, but Wood is the one able to take advantage, taking away that position. Millward still not done along the side of Alexia Loma. They fly down towards the wall of champions, but Aloma is on the outside. He's gaining speed, and he's got to nose ahead. He's going to have to be very strong on the brakes. He's just a little bit beyond, but they come together, making slight contact off the corner. It is still not done yet. And Millward still desperate to try and get by, being covered off the inside. At first taken by Loma, that he comes back to the racing line. And as they weave through 1 and 2, he's finally solidified second. What kicked this off?
Well, Joe, it was turn 9 altogether for Alexia Loma. Not the one that I was talking about, but he was just simply way too fast into turn 9, as we're going to see on the replay. Takes the shortcut through the grass to not spin out, and because of that loses so much momentum that both Matt Wood and Alex Millward catch up to him.
Well, there's the first of our major incidents with a slowdown penalty for Aloma. We're going to watch on board. He knew it early. He just pointed the car straight for the grass and said, well, this is my lot in life for now. And so he's got about a second and a half up to Wood.
We were on the replay here. Alexi Loma with another mistake through turn 9. This time he catches the sausage curb and nearly spins out into the wall on the outside. So once again, very lucky for Alexi.
Millward still sticking with him, thinking that there could be something in this. It could be. Oh, and as Millward wasn't able to make an attack into there, I'm keeping half an eye on. If we need to, we'll duck back to Bycroft in the pista. Wow! What is wrong with Aloma's car? Not looking good. That's the third mistake in 2 laps that we've seen.
Oh, and another one. Aloma just completely overdriving his car right now. One mistake after another. Has to be careful. Once again, slides right into that apex through the next one. That gives the door open, wide open to Alex Millward. Says thank you very much. Goes past into position 2 for this race, but Aloma really has to count his cards now because that car is just way too slidey.
This is incredibly unlike Aloma, and we seem to have had a problem with Sergio Fernandez. Oh, Sergio blew an engine. Whoa.
Talking about
before we go to that, looks like Aloma's not the only one making mistakes.
That just completely blows the entry of Lepingo, but that sadly didn't give enough room to Alexia Loma in his perspective, obviously, to gain an advantage. There has to stick behind for the wall of champions.
And just behind them, it's side by side, Bycroft and Lepisto, and it doesn't work. In fact, that slowed up Bycroft a lot, and now Gernot Friesche has gained behind him by almost a second.
Knock, knock, who's there? It's your, I think, if I remember correctly, the 12th-time champion, Gernot Friesche.
Not something you want to see in your mirrors. The Hoosier goes from the attack to the defense now. Lepisto stretches away from him, and it is a yellow Lotus 79 filling the mirrors of Steve Bycroft as they break for turn 6, looking to get solidly on the throttle out of there. I can tell you that this is a lot closer than what we've got up in second now, because Millward pulled away from Aloma. course, those two really have dropped off from Matt Wood. I said something, Steph, at the early part of the broadcast about this could be the chance for Matt Wood to finally catch a win, and it's looking really good for him right now.
Yeah, 2.5 seconds ahead of everyone else Matt Wood now is. And by the way, I have to say sorry a little bit to Gern Friedrich. Not your 12th-time champion, it's your 18th-time champion in the Classic Team Championship.
There's Matt Wood in his Renault. Continuing on, just wanting to take this one to the checkered flag without any dramas from here on out. Back to this battle, though, for 4th place. Lepisto and the blue and white machine, you see. And the dark blue and white, that is Steve Bycroft. And then in the yellow, that is Gernot Friesche. An accordion in together through 1 and 2. Don't need to go to it, but it sounds like Theo Schleray, unfortunately, with another spin.
Did Millward just catch the wall out of turn 4? I'm not sure, but that was a big slide through 3 and 4.
Let's take a look. We're going to ride on board with them here.
Look at that, and then he just...
Just inches between himself and the wall. This means that the Loma has caught up to him with that little bobble as well. So Loma's had a lot of action after it looked like he was going to be well clear of everybody. We're starting to think that maybe he's got low downforce on his car. And wonder if he's burned out the tires with all the slides that he's had.
I'm not sure about that, but here comes Loma, and most definitely that's some low downforce if I've ever seen that. Look at how much he catches Millward ahead of him. That's not very common in the Lotus 79, but just can't make it happen through the wall of champion chicane.
Could it be maybe lap traffic that helps him through? They reach Dave Cohen once again. He's going to stay to the outside. Nicely done by Dave to let them through. Little peek to the inside from Loma as it seems Millward wide at turn 2. Nothing doing still.
Oh, that's wide for Loma. Has to be careful not to spin out. Doesn't spin out, but that dropped him back another 4, 5, 6 car lengths there to Millward.
With all of this action, we've only hit the halfway point of the race. Whoa! Ho, 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 ho. Millward with all kinds of wheel spin and still holds the car together. Holy cow!
You know what? That was just his best Gilles Villeneuve impression.
Apparently, this is the spirit of Gilles Villeneuve. Look at that, crossed up. This is incredible. I don't think we've seen drivers this shaky in conditions like this in a while. We expect it when it's hot temperatures, but again, I have no idea why we're seeing drivers struggle so much today.
I mean, in the case of Millward, if you do it here and in the right livery. Because, once again, super slideways, and that has to be the position. Yes, there, Alexei Loma goes past.
It is a little bit windy, it's worth noting, 15 miles per hour. We're going to watch from above to see him try catch the car. This time, unfortunately, does have to take to the runoff, and if you're going to try and do that at any corner, that's a good one to do so.
But yeah, to finish my sentence, obviously Gilles Villeneuve, one of his 2 driver championships was with the McLaren. So yeah, Millward racing the McLaren livery. Can't be more fitting.
Loma gets himself...
Oh, Fritzsche! Also doing his best Gilles Villeneuve impression there.
And also out of turn 7. Friesche still driving in 6th position. Gives a little thank you to those he's been lapping. He's got a little bit of pressure from Nuno Moreira behind him, but he's dropped off of Steve Bycroft, who he was close to before. Looking down through the field to see how things have progressed a little farther back. We do have something of a battle for 14th. That is Vascalopi back there. This is Chris Baumann, who has been challenging him as they also lap a few more cars down through 8 and 9. Baumann putting a lot of pressure on Teemu.
And here he comes to the inside of Lepingle. Timo Vasculampi seems a little bit down on speed. Don't know why that is, but he has to concede the position for that 14th place fight.
And Baumann going to cover off the inside just to be safe. Down the rowing straight all the way to the inside. Now he comes back over ahead of Vasculampi. So that position has been solidified. Up to the top. Let's give a glance once again here to Lepisto. Bycroft, before we ducked away, I did see that he was closing on Lepisto, but didn't get a go at him into that final chicane. Maybe he'd get another try. That's Millward directly in front of them, by the way. Because of his slowdown penalty, he's now not only got to worry about second, but third, as he's been caught by the Finn. A little bit of a look to the inside by Bycroft, but nothing serious. Next time by, we're going to be 10 laps to go. 2/3 of the way through this race.
On the very top of the field, Matt Wood is starting to get caught by Alexi Loma once again. Last lap, 4/10 between Loma and Wood in favor of Alexi. So most definitely catching, but will it be enough?
3/10, the biggest chunk he's taken so far. At least in those last 5 laps. I think he might have enough laps to get there, but as we like to say in racing, Steph, catching is one thing, passing is a whole nother.
And we have seen that Alexi Loma isn't that able to overtake others because of his or pretty much always up to this point, much higher downforce setup, but it seems like that Aloma has chosen to go with the much more low downforce setup, meaning that he is actually quite a lot faster on the straights than all around him. So that might actually be of benefit to him as Matt Wood, whoa, nearly gets taken out by Adnan, who completely loses his braking zone.
That puts him in the wall. Wow, that was a great heads up by Matt Wood.
Oh my
you can
goodness,
see here on the replay.
That was quite scary there. Look at how much speed Adnan has there. Goes over both curbs and heavy into the tire barrier. Then decides also to tow because he was just too much there in danger for other drivers.
And that's bad news for Wood. Good news
actually,
for Loma.
Lepisto and Bycroft side by side now through turn 5. Still side by side. Lepisto trying to do it now. Second chicane in a row there side by side. Finally has to give up the ghost. Does get a better run though, and that has now also brought in Gernot Friedrich and Nuno Moreira.
4 of these cars are for position. Lepisto ducking to the inside very late as Friesche also looking for the spot. They pair off into 2s coming off the corner. And it looks like Lepisto with not as good of a run as Nuno Moreira, who closes in on Friesche, going defensive down into Lepingle to make sure that he isn't overtaken. Still, both of these battles continue, having to keep a wide camera shot to see if either of them are going to change position. Lepisto now the one looking strong, pulling the slipstream down into the wall of champions. Can he finally make the move? He's going to think about it, but he comes back to the racing line. Whew, action, big action there. Here, fighting for what is effectively 4th place. Oh, and something happened to Pablo Suarez. Oh, he was on his lid.
Well, that's something that doesn't happen very often in this. Yikes!
He clipped Cohen's tires. Caught him just right.
That looked like quite some netcode for me there. Either way, another replay comes our way. That should be Nicola Kochi, if I heard correctly.
got a slowdown penalty. Yeah, looks like that's the case. And he's going to go around the outside to continue to serve that. And what a miserable day, unfortunately, for the Italian. Coming back to the lead. I was about to say before everything kicked off back there, it was bad news for Wood, good news for Loma, and even better now for Alexi because it's down to 1 second that he is behind Matt Wood. You talked about the lower downforce for Loma. I would think that that would allow him an easier time trying to overtake, but he's been awful mistake prone today.
Well, on the straights, yes, it gives him a better opportunity to overtake, but when he is behind another car, especially close behind another car, he loses so much more downforce that he needs to keep this car under control. Now, obviously, with the ground effect these cars have, you lose less downforce because everything is generated, or pretty much everything is generated under the car, but still you lose quite a significant amount of downforce that you will need through these medium speed to slow speed corners.
Well, going through a couple of those corners right there onto the Riverside stretch. He cuts it down to about 9/10, making smaller inroads now. And watch him. I'm keeping half an eye on Gernot Friesche, who manages to re-catch Antti Lepisto. Lepisto, who was overtaken by Bycroft, is being left in the dust, and it's suddenly turning into a 3-car battle instead of 4. Around Lepingle. Don't forget Nuno Moreira in the mix, back there in 7th. They've got no challenge from behind. Peter Mikus is the next car back, 15 seconds back there. So these 3 are free to fight in the final, what will be 7 laps very soon.
The car ahead of them, though, is quite in contention of getting drawn into the battle, and that is Alex Millward, still about 2.5 seconds ahead, but he has started to make mistake after mistake. Last lap was once again 3/10 slower than Bycroft and also Lepisto.
Lepisto keeping himself safe from Friesche. Down into turn 3 with a good exit off the corner. Gernot keeping half an eye on his mirrors with Nuno Moreira back and forth, making himself known to the DH driver, the multi-time champion. This is a good opportunity right here if he could just get the exit, and it is not to be as he falls back drastically.
Matt Wood right now getting held up by traffic. The traffic is fighting for 18th place, and that leaves Alexi Loma now completely under the rear wing of Matt Wood.
Yeah, it was 0.6 of a second going into the corner. It is now 0.3 of a second coming out. He is going to have his hands full. Loma looking to make it a 4-peat here. Question is, can he actually do it? As they come onto the front stretch, he's going to have to go on the attack, and this is where he's going to be strong. It's a long stretch. He's looking to the inside. He's thinking about it down into turn 1, but he thinks better of it. Comes back to the racing line. You see the lap times between them and the consistent chunks being taken out by Loma. Down through 6 and 7 onto the Riverside stretch. This is looking good once again. Steph, can he finally get something done here?
Well, for Alexi, it's all about Lepingle. If he gets a decent run out of there and stays close to Matt Wood, he most definitely will have the chance to overtake him into the Wall of Champions. But then he has to be careful because Matt Wood might be able to come back into the Senate.
Here it is through Lepingle, a bit wide once again for Matt Wood. And that allows Loma to close in another 10th. This time he's looking even closer than last lap. He stays right underneath that rear wing. Closes down to less than a car length, looks to the inside. No defensive move from Matt Wood, though. He stays deeper on the brakes. He knows he's stronger at that point compared to Aloma, and he holds him off. Aloma's Achilles heel seems to be that braking zone.
We have a word from one of his teammates that he has trouble with his car on the braking. It starts to bounce quite heavily, thus he has to lift a little bit earlier to make it a little bit easier on his car while braking. So Aloma has to be at least half a car length on the inside of Matt Wood to be able to challenge him on the brakes.
That could make this a fascinating fight as we now come to 5 laps to go. And that's a big slide from Matt Wood coming through turn 6, but getting on the throttle. Alexi Aloma struggling himself as the car wiggled back and forth. He's once again going to look for it. And once again, not going to be farther up alongside. This is going to be extremely intense for Matt Wood unless Aloma makes a mistake and falls away from him, because he's going to continue to be fast along these straightaways. This, though, looking much better for Matt, coming off the hairpin. He's a lot farther away than what we saw last time by. Down through the wall of champions and onto the front stretch. Now 4 laps to go as they cross. More lap traffic up in front. Schleret, who we've reported on having multiple spins. Hopefully he'll be able to keep it nice and solid ahead of these two. I wonder if that's going to be the opportunity that Aloma needs here. Maybe the lap traffic could act as a pick. Very clean for both drivers coming off of 7. Down the Riverside stretch. Matt Wood has been getting podiums. He's been hanging around the front of the field, but he's not been faster than Aloma or Johan Orlampi for much of the season. It's been those two have been battling, but without Juha here today and with Aloma looking like this is not his strongest track, this has been an opportunity for Matt Wood to finally get his first victory of the season halfway through it. Could this potentially make him a part of this championship?
At this point, I would nearly say that Alexi did choose the wrong setup here today. Yes, he had the right setup without the mistakes up in the front of the field, but now that he's behind Matt Wood, who just set the fastest lap of the race, I would say that he chose the wrong setup, because right now he's stuck behind Matt Wood, clearly having a better pace than Matt Wood, but just can't play out his cards because he's getting bogged down by the dirty air of Matt Wood ahead of him.
Easy to forget that we've still got that battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th between Bycroft, Lepisto, Friscia, and Morera. In fact, Morera's been the one that's been closest of all of these 3 for quite a while. He continues to stay glued to the gearbox of the number 1 car, but has not made as many passing opportunities as Friscia, going very deep into the corner. This could be the one that he needs. Morera gets right up underneath him. He's covered off on the inside by the multi-time champion, tries to go deeper on the brakes. He manages to actually get ahead, but it's a longer run around the outside, and so it is not to be for Morera. Back to our top 2. Gonna start the penultimate lap this time by. Does Aloma start to get desperate now? Does he try and lunge one up the inside? Lap traffic in front of them. Cohen coming out. He's going to stay off to the side. They're also catching Keith Herner, looking like the last car that they're going to be able to lap. Down through where we saw the big accident on lap 1 through 5. No such dramas for our 2 leaders this time. We ride on board with Alexi Aloma, watching the rear wing of Matt Wood, which he's become very familiar with at this point. Ooh, his braking looking a little bit better that time through 8 and 9. He could just channel that. When he gets alongside him, that could be what he needs. Keith Herner now visible to both of them. Herner has to be aware that this is a battle for the lead coming up behind him. Will he simply let them through once they start to get close enough, or will fight to stay on the lead lap? White flag now being waved from the flag stand, and there's our answer. Great job by Herner to just pull off to the side, let them both through. They're going to have clear track in front to get to the end.
3 more passing opportunities for Alexi Aloma. Turn 8, the hairpin or the wall of champions. Otherwise, he has just not enough downforce to get to Matt Wood.
Stays about 2 car lengths behind through turn 5 and down into 6. Ooh, this is looking good once again, but as close as he gets through those corners, he just can't accelerate good enough out of the turn. He falls back once again. This is the first opportunity here. Down into turn 8, nothing doing there. They have managed to catch, surprisingly, Todd Herner up ahead of them. He's going to let them through. Down into Lepingle now, another opportunity. He weaves it wide, tries to get into the head of Matt Wood. That also doesn't work, but he's looking strong off of Lepingle. He's going to be very close now. In fact, this is the closest he's been in quite a while. He'll get the slipstream. Wood, does he cover off the inside this time? He stays hugged to the right side, forcing him the long way around. Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win. Out of the final turn, it's a drag race to the line, and unfortunately, Aloma is not going to be able to have the speed as it goes to Wood. Wow! In 4th place behind them, Bycroft is the one that comes away ahead of Lepisto. And then a battle side by side between Kochi and Mikus. This is for 8th position. A repeat of what we saw for the lead. And it looks like Kochi might be able to hold him off, the Italian, finally making good on this race. Van Doon, who was hoping to hold his positions, looks like he's going to come away with 11th ahead of Kineski. Let's watch the replay one more time of that battle for the win. Alexi gave it all.
Yeah, and we're gonna see now in the pass for Alexi. Around the outside, he tries it, actually is able to hold the position, and then right on his second upshift, he doesn't miss shift into neutral, but he actually shifts into, I would say that was 5th gear instead of 3rd.
In his moment of need, his focus unfortunately seems to have slipped. Just incredible stuff, though. Look at that, almost banging wheels on their way to the line. And there is your gap at the finish. 1/10 of a second. Barely a car length between them. Fantastic stuff here to cap off the first half of the season in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series now. But it's going to take us to break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Don't go away, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. A last corner fight for the lead, a race to the line. You can't get much better than that here at Montreal, as we just watched round 6 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix series. And Matt Wood was the one that finally got himself his first win of the season on a Sunday. Alexia Loma just 1/10 behind him at the line. He took the pole and he led for part of the race, but his own mistakes cost him. Alex Millward, his own mistakes, of course, cost him, but he did manage a podium today. Steve Bycroft with a good battle back there and winding up with 4th. Antti Lepisto fighting with him, and he winds up with P5. Gernot Friesche, the multi-time champion, has to settle for 6th place. Really didn't seem to have much pace today compared to our leaders, and Nuno Moreira takes the 7th. Nicola Kochi, contact with the wall gave him damage, but he salvaged in 8th place, just barely ahead of Peter Mikus. Then Adam Fraser rounds out your top 10.
Simon van Doon, after a very quiet race, he finishes 11th from 16th. He had to fight off Peter Konieczny, but it seemed like that he had that all under control. Peter Konieczny himself finishes 12th place. Chris Baumann 13th to 13th. The very lucky number 13 for him then. Errol Koroglu 14th in the end. 15th went to Timo Vaskilampi, also a name we normally see a lot higher in the standings at the end. He also is the last driver on the lead lap. Keith Erner starts the list of the drivers 1 lap down alongside Theo Schleret and David Burgess. That also is already the last car to finish this race here today. The list of drivers not finishing is led by Sergio Morales 7 laps down in 19th and Dave Cohen in 20th.
Then you've got more DNFs, which we expected here today. Todd Herner, Pablo Suarez, Adnan Dizdarevic, who we saw have a wreck in the Wall of Champions, Sergio Fernandez, Kendrick Taylor, Robert Simpkins, John Stevens, Barry West, and Octavio Araujo Pisco, unfortunately. So we've got our 2nd place finisher ready to talk to us, Alexi Loma. Yesterday, Alexi, we talked to you and you said you tried to match the downforce of the drivers around you, but today it looked like you had much lower downforce, and normally we would expect that would allow you to have easy overtakes here, but it seemed incredibly difficult for you to try to get by Wood.
Yeah, getting the exit out of the hairpin, and well, you kind of got. I would have gone like side by side or tried to pass him under braking for the last corner a few times, but I didn't think it's too smart to try there, unless it's the last lap when it's checkers or wreckers. But yeah, it's not that easy on this track, even though it has long straights.
Certainly seemed like it. Now, you did start it on pole and you were up ahead. We understand, we heard from some people that your braking wasn't too good as well. Is that what caused the initial mistake that lost you the lead?
Yeah, I haven't been running this low downforce until this race, so I guess I didn't try enough long runs, and I started losing like feel with the brakes. And well, I got it back in the end, but yeah, I lost when I went off and got past. I kind of lost my rhythm, and then Alex was able to pass me, and then I gained it back, and then Matt had some problem with a lapped car. So yeah, in the end, I felt good with the car.
Now, we talked to Barry West, unfortunately, since he was one of the DNFs that we had out early, and he was asking what was next, and we looked and we saw that it's Le Mans, which obviously, you know, even with the chicanes in there, there's going to be a lot of drafting going on and some trains happening. What are you going to do to prepare for that race? Because it's not going to be a straightforward win unless something drastic happens up at the front.
Yeah, hard to know, even the like getting set up, like good setup, because you need to pull out some tricks out of your sleeve. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to it.
It's understandable. A 2nd place today, but Juha wasn't here, so still a points gain for you. Congratulations on a podium, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you next week.
Thank you, and thank you guys for having me.
was Alexia Loma. Looks like we didn't get Wood or Millward ready to talk to us, unfortunately. I was kind of surprised by that, but that's going to close us out. So we're going to give a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more for her great work. Thanks to the team today, Stefan, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook is /Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page, because if you haven't subscribed, you'll know it. The subscribe button will be big and red. You can click that and you won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. As we mentioned, heading over to the only French track so far here on iRacing Le Mans. That'll be Sunday, October 27th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.